is the director and executive producer of the 10-part docuseries, The Dynasty, New England Patriots. It is on Apple TV Plus for your viewing pleasure. Watch it whenever you want, when you can, and you should. Matt Hamacheck, how are you?
I am good. How are you doing?
Good. You feel? I mean, you're a Packers fan. I'm sure you're sitting pretty over here.
McKinney.
You're welcome. I'm kidding.
I know. No, it's been. I have to say though, I think every Packer fan is going to be mourning Aaron Jones being a Viking for a very, very long time.
Did it hit you hard?
I saw the purple sombrero go on his head, and I just couldn't take it. And it's just like, all right, I've got to. You know how on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, you have your different things that always pop up in your feed. And I realized I now have to remove Aaron Jones from that because I can't see the purple sombrero on his head anymore. So
business-wise, it makes sense, but you know better than anybody after doing all of this work and, you know, this passion project with the Patriots, like soulfulness and identity matter, and that's sort of what Aaron Jones is.
I mean, especially last playoff run. I mean, what he did, especially, you know, in Dallas and everything. It's just, I don't know. It's hard, but you know, luckily for us fans, there's people that actually know what they're doing in these front offices, and we just get to complain about the moves or celebrate them and have fun with it.
Yeah, we'll see Josh Jacobs if he can step into those huge playoff journey shoes of Aaron Jones.
There we go.
I got to ask you, when you see like my little Chicago making these moves for a veteran and Keenan Allen and getting rid of Justin Fields, does it ping your radar at all, or are you like, meh? Be honest.
You're gonna get a different side of me when you ask me questions about the Bears. No, nothing. Unfortunately, nothing that the Bears do worries any Packers fan, given the way the last, you know, however many years it's been is gone.
It's fair. Well played. Let's talk about the dynasty here, because my Chicago Bears are far from ever having a 10-part docuseries made about them and their dynasty. Your Packers are on the way, but the Patriots have been there and done that, and they'd like to get back there. Now, and the last two episodes have aired. They're available for everybody to go see. The Patriots win their 5th Super Bowl. You know, they only grow further apart, though, somehow. Kraft forcing Belichick to trade Jimmy G. Belichick banning Alex Guerrero. How telling was the 2017 season for what was to come for this dynasty? Yeah,
so I remember when we were watching, I didn't actually do the interviews, but when Chris James, our producer, was interviewing Devin McCourty and Matthew Slater, and they started to talk about the Bill's letter to Trump and what they thought that meant for the Patriot way. That was a moment when there have been a couple throughout the entire series, but that was a moment when it was like, okay, I think that what they're talking about may be the thing that we sort of reverse engineer the last episodes about, because these guys are the locker room guys of the Patriots, and they're talking about things about the Patriot way falling apart, even though at the same time, these are also the same guys that in episode 10 are talking about how the decisions that Bill Belichick makes to coaching-wise against the Rams to go from, you know, man to zone is one of the greatest coaching decisions of all time. And the fact that he got those guys to switch in 2 weeks after they'd played that way the entire time is just remarkable. So, but yeah, no, hearing them talk about that was one of those moments where it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be how we sort of shape the end of this thing, you know, in the last 2 episodes.
Great coaching decisions, and then weird ones too, that are depicted here, because they lose to the Eagles. You know, there's this big question about that 2015 win over Seattle, and the question is, the heat's on Pete Carroll. Why'd you give it to?
Or 14,
Give it to 2014, Give it to Marshawn Lynch. Like, what are you doing? But then in 2017, you know, we're all, you know, dog masks and hoopla for the Eagles. It gets lost. You benched Malcolm Butler, and you spent hundreds of hours, countless hours with the team, with these people. Did you figure out why behind the scenes somehow? Like, why does this continue to be the greatest mystery in the history of this dynasty?
Well, the reason it's a mystery is because they lost the game and Tom Brady threw 500 yards, right? When you have the greatest quarterback of all time throwing 500 yards and you still lose. And, you know, I'm not saying this in any way to offend Eagles fans, but obviously there are people out there that don't think that team should have been as formidable as it was to the Patriots and everything. So I think there's a lot of head scratching going on. It's one of those things where if the Patriots had just had the ball last and had scored a touchdown and won the game, then nobody would be talking about Malcolm Butler. And so I think a lot of it was really just about the idea of, even after that initial letter had been written and it caused friction, they won against the Falcons, but then what happens in this culture, which is all about winning when they lose, and that's sort of what the sort of the examination of that Eagles Super Bowl and that decision to bench Malcolm was.
You know, you try to in the series, you sort of lob one up to Bill, and you say, "Here's a softball." Like, compliment Tom on this.
Yeah,
historic...
I think I said, like, Tom Brady threw 500, 300 yards. What made him so spectacular? And then you probably remember his response better than I do.
Well, he just compliments the Eagles.
Right.
Instead.
Right. And then we cut to Tom being interviewed, and somebody asks him, do you feel like you're appreciated for what you've accomplished? And then he says, no comment, or, next question, or sorry, I plead the fifth. And look, we talked to Tom, we talked to his family, and we talked to the people that were closest to Tom on the team, and they all talked about this thing. But I think that what was so interesting is that Bill was consistent. The thing for a very, very long time. And the thing that made that team so great is the culture that he created, right? It was that nobody's above the team. It's always team first. And in a lot of ways, Bill never really changed in terms of how he treated his star players. And I think that consistency is part of what made that team great. And obviously, the question that we were always trying to answer when we were making this thing is, what does it take to get there? And people can point to Bill and how harsh he treated Tom and things like that. But his sort of stubbornness and unwillingness to change is what got them there over and over and over again. And
I think every time, even Tom, like, it's such a complicated, multi-layered thing, but every time Tom talks about Bill, it's emotional.
You see him get
he
the
cries.
only person that gets him choked up is Bill when he says,
yes.
He says, and then Robert said, he's fine talking about when he went over to Robert's house, but then Tom says, Robert said we should call Bill. And when I did that, that was emotional and then he starts to get choked up because he's talking about Bill. And then when he talks about Robert and Jonathan and their family, and then he says, and Bill's family, when he says Bill's family, Bill is when he gets choked up. So that relationship, obviously his relationship with Robert and Jonathan and the Crafts is obviously really important, but the one that always gets him choked up is his relationship with Bill.
It's crazy to see it all come to a point where you have Robert Kraft sitting there and being so honest about what that 6th Super Bowl win did, that's winning with defense, that boring ass Super Bowl against the Rams where nothing was going on. Gronk makes one 36-yard catch, like, that's it. And it's then I decided, like, Bill was right, that brilliant decision to go zone to whatever he did, and then Tom was on the outs. Like, I wonder, like, would Kraft take that back? Would he take back one Super Bowl win over the Rams, take it off of his docket in order for that to never happen, to keep Tom in the building?
No, and I think it's a great line. I think the most telling line.
It's the line. It's crazy.
But I think the most telling line for Robert Kraft in the entire series, maybe, especially towards the end, is when he says, maybe I'm a little bit naive, and I thought that winning was the special elixir that was going to keep Tom and Bill together forever.
Right.
Because I think that is truly what he was going through at the time. Is he knew that this thing was falling apart at the seams, and he was trying to do all these different things to try to kind of like put tape on the holes that were, coming apart. And I think he still hoped that, and his hope of all hopes was, Tom Brady calls him and says, hey, I want to come over in March of 2020. I think he really, in his heart of hearts, hoped that Tom Brady was going to come over and say, I know you've given me this out, you haven't franchised me, all this stuff, but I really want to go for one more year. And I think that's what he was really sincerely expecting could happen when Tom was coming over. And as he even says, maybe it was a little naive to think that, but I think that's what he was always thinking.
All good things come to an end, guys. You guys can check out the Dynasty New England Patriots. It is streaming at whenever you want to watch it, whenever you want to binge it, over on Apple TV. We're going to end this with a very quick 1 minute, Jill. We have a minute left in the show. We're going to have you give out the Hamachecks, okay? These are awards. You're giving out, first up, the Spill the Tea Award. The award goes to the one person that was the most candid about the Dynasty. Who wins that? Quick.
All right, we've got, I think, Robert Gronkowski, Amendola, McCourty, and Slater tied.
Okay, why not? It's your show, why not? Next, the Gronk Award. This award goes to the person with the best comedic performance. The Hamacheck goes to?
Ty Law.
Okay. The Hamacheck for best drama.
Tom Brady, getting choked up in all those moments.
Yeah. Who do you have winning the Hamacheck for best surprise performance?
The Tom Brady family, the Brady family. I think that's the most shocking performance of everybody. Some of those interviews are just incredible.
Hours and hours and hours, lots to sift to. Okay, the Hamacheck, the Tom Brady Award. This award goes to your MVP of the Dynasty. The winner is?
Ernie Adams.
I mean, we knew that. That was really easy money, was it? If I was to bet on FanDuel Sportsbook.
If I can just say one other thing, for my team, Dan Kohler, the lead editor of our project, was our MVP of the Dynasty.
You're the MVP. Congrats to you. And by the way, congrats on the new deal with Apple TV+.
Oh, thank you so much.
What's next? Why don't you go?